We've tallied up your votes and the bracket has now been set for the entire 2024 credit card bracket challenge. So in this video, we're going to hear from RJ, who's going to break down the matchups for the cashback region. And then I'm going to break down the seeding and matchups for the travel region, give my predictions on who's going to win each of the matchups, and overall preview what's next. Before I get into the travel region, what each of the matchups look like, my predictions for who's going to win each of those matchups, and ultimately what's going to come next in that region, let's first hear from RJ, who's going to break down the cashback region.
Hey Matt, hey Internet, thanks for having me over here. Of course, I am RJ. For those who are unfamiliar, I am the commissioner of the Credit Card Madness tournament, of course, co-hosting it this year with yours truly, Mr. Matt Welter, where I'm taking the cashback region. Just like you guys over here on the travel side had, we had qualifying last week to set up our Sweet 16, and we have some matchups to take a look at. Things in the tournament are now starting to get real, so let's take a look and see who's advancing and who's the people's vote. So here we have it. Again, 4 matchups to take a look at. First matchup is going to be the number 1 seed for cashback, City Custom Cash. It took home 86.8% of the vote. It's a very deciding, very solid number 1 seed versus number 8 US Bank Cash Plus card, taking home 36.9% of the vote. The second matchup of the tournament is going to be the number 2 seed Chase Freedom Flex, taking home 74.2% of the vote. It's going to square off against a number 7 seed American Express Blue Cash Everyday at 42.2% of the vote. Third matchup, we have some people who are basically going to be family pretty soon if the merger goes through, because we have the number 3 Capital One Saver One Rewards at 70.8% versus its soon-to-be brother-in-law, I guess how you look at it, is the number 6 seed Discover It Cash with 42.8% of the vote. And bringing us home with our fourth matchup is an all-Chase matchup. Number 4, Chase Freedom Unlimited with 50.5% of the vote versus the number 5 Chase Amazon Prime card with 47.7% of the vote. Overall, a lot of great cashback cards have made it. I have most of those cards. Some of those cards I even have doubles of. Now, of course, if you want a full breakdown of my thoughts and reactions, to the cashback side, well then, of course, youtube.com/RJFinancial, where we have not only this, but we've got, news stories, everything, all the profitable content you can need. But of course, as always, guys, thank you so much for voting. I will see you right back here, of course, next week to set up the next round of the tournament. So thank you again, Matt, for having me. Back to you in the studio.
Okay, now if we get into the travel region, let's take a look at which cards got the most votes and how all of the cards are going to be seeded. As a reminder, the Capital One Venture X is already automatically seeded in the bracket as the number 1 seed since it won the tournament last year. And so next up, the travel credit card that got the most amount of votes, and so will be the number 2 seed, which I honestly was a little bit surprised by, was the Chase Sapphire Preferred, which got a total of 225 votes. Next up, the number 3 seed is going to be the American Express Platinum, which got a total of 219 votes. The number 4 seed is going to be the American Express Gold card, which got 213 votes. From there was a little bit of a drop off in terms of total votes. So the number 5 seed is going to be the Built Rewards card that got 186 votes. The number 6 seed will be the Chase Sapphire Reserve that got 177 votes. The number 7 seed will be the Hilton Aspire, which got 129 votes. And then rounding out the field as the number 8 seed will be the US Bank Altitude Reserve. I'm sorry if your favorite card did not make the cut, but congratulations to these 8 travel credit cards, which did make the cut and now have a realistic chance to cut down the nets and win the championship. Just barely missing out on making the tournament, and our honorable mentions are going to be the Chase Ritz-Carlton card that got 112 votes and the City Premier that got 102 votes. But now that we have revealed the seeding, let's get into the specific matchups and what cards are going to be squaring off against each other in this Sweet 16. The defending champ number 1 seed Capital One Venture X is going to be squaring off against the number 8 seed US Bank Altitude Reserve. The number 2 seed Chase Sapphire Preferred will go head-to-head against the number 7 seed Hilton Aspire, which actually could be a pretty interesting matchup depending on how many Hilton loyalists come out to play. The next matchup will be the number 3 seed American Express Platinum facing off against the number 6 seed Chase Sapphire Reserve in what will be a battle of premium travel credit cards. Finally, rounding out the matchups, we will have the number 4 seed American Express Gold card facing the number 5 seed Built MasterCard. Now I'm going to get into all of my predictions for the matchups and what I could see happening, but first, here's how I voted. I did vote for a couple cards that ultimately ended up making the tournament. So I voted for the American Express Platinum, the American Express Gold, Chase Sapphire Preferred, Built MasterCard, Hilton Aspire, and I think the last one that made the tournament that I voted for was the US Bank Altitude Reserve. Outside of that, one other credit card that I voted for that I was hoping was going to sneak into the tournament but just barely missed out was the Chase Ritz-Carlton. Okay, now we're going to take a look at all of the matchups, and I'm going to give my thoughts on what I think about all of them. So the first matchup is the Capital One Venture X versus the US Bank Altitude Reserve. I do think that the US Bank Altitude Reserve is really underrated and is a great way to get consistent value and great point multipliers, especially if you utilize mobile wallets. And obviously the Venture X is still a very popular travel card, but I do think that consumer sentiment has changed a little bit since last year when that card won the championship. And that's because Capital One has started to take away benefits from the Venture X, and current Venture X cardholders are a little bit nervous about what Capital One could continue to do in the future. I say this because typically in a number 1 seed versus number 8 seed type of matchup, you usually just pencil in the number 1 seed to win the matchup and move on to the next round, because it's usually just not that close of a matchup to begin with. And even though I do think that the Capital One Venture X is going to win the matchup and move on to the next round, I do think that this matchup is going to be a lot closer than some of you might be expecting. In the next matchup, we have the number 2 seed Chase Sapphire Preferred taking on the number 7 seed Hilton Aspire. And to be honest, I'm still a little bit surprised that the Chase Sapphire Preferred got the most amount of votes to lock up that number 2 seed during the qualifying round in the first place. Obviously, there's the argument that Chase has the best ecosystem and the best travel partners, and the Chase Sapphire Preferred is a gateway to that. But I do think that the Chase Sapphire Preferred is definitely in need of a refresh, and there could be more pressure for that due to increased competition from new cards like the Wells Fargo Autograph Journey. On the other side of things, we have the Hilton Aspire, which is Hilton's highest tier credit card, and what I think to be the most valuable hotel credit card period. I would definitely expect Hilton loyalists or people who are into hotel credit cards in general to vote for the Hilton Aspire on a pure value standpoint, but the Hilton Aspire is definitely a little bit more niche than a broad travel card like the Chase Sapphire Preferred, so I would definitely expect the number 2 seed Chase Sapphire Preferred to win this matchup. Next, we have a powerhouse matchup, which is going to be the number 3 seed American Express Platinum squaring off against the number 6 seed Chase Sapphire Reserve. First of all, I think this is crazy that this is a first round matchup, because I would have expected to see this matchup in like the Final Four or championship, because these are arguably probably the 2 most valuable travel credit cards out there. I could really see this matchup going either way because the Amex Platinum probably has the edge, but the Platinum card is also a very opinionated card, so some people love it and some people hate it. And the Chase Sapphire Reserve has had somewhat of a resurgence recently in terms of popularity, so I think this is really anyone's game, and I would not be surprised either way on whether the Amex Platinum or the Chase Sapphire Reserve wins this matchup. To round out the matchups, we have the number 4 seed Amex Gold card playing the number 5 seed Built MasterCard. And even though I personally love the Built card and how valuable Built points can be, especially with those massive transfer bonuses on Built rent days, I do have a pretty strong feeling that the American Express Gold card is going to win this matchup. So in terms of what's next, RJ and I are both going to have links down in the description of our videos where you can place your votes for all of these matchups. And so throughout the next week, we're going to tally all of the votes for the Sweet 16 voting. And then next week, we'll be back at you breaking down the results and previewing the matchups for the Elite 8. If you missed the first episode, so you don't really know all of the rules or exactly what I'm talking about, then make sure to go watch our first video that'll be linked up right now. Thank you all so much for watching this video. Make sure to go place your votes, and I'm really excited to see what happens. And I hope you all have a great rest of your day. Peace.